The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, dictates that all public schools must provide children with disabilities a free, appropriate public education, or FAPE. Schools must provide an individualized education program, or an IEP. Prior to the case that we'll be addressing today, Andrew F. versus Douglas County School Districts, courts relied on the Supreme Court landmark case of the Board of Education of Hendrick Hudson Central School District versus Rowley. We call it the Rowley case. The U.S. Supreme Court held that Amy Rowley, a child with a disability involved in the case, would receive a free, appropriate public education if her IEP was reasonably calculated to enable the child to achieve educational benefits. The identification and evaluation of a child with a suspected disability is a critical step in the special education process. Under our federal law IDEA, each local education agency or school district must establish procedures by which children in need of special education and related services are identified, and these are known as child find efforts. States are left to develop their own identification procedures, but the federal law IDEA requires an active effort to identify children in need of special education services. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a developmental disability defined by diagnostic criteria that include deficits in social communication and social interaction. Children with the most advanced language skills tend to talk about a limited range of topics and to have a hard time understanding abstract concepts. Repetitive play and limited social skills are also evident. Other common symptoms of ASD can include unusual and sometimes uncontrolled reactions to sensory information. After listening to this lecture, you should understand the following: the overview and purpose of early intervention, Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, eligibility criteria for early intervention services, evaluation of infants and toddlers for early intervention services, individualized family service plans or IFSPs, the purpose of IFSPs, and notice required to families for an IFSP meeting. This lecture will focus on special education advocacy and being a special education advocate. The topics covered include: what is advocacy? How are special education advocates different from attorneys? Why would parents obtain a special education advocate? Knowledge and responsibilities of special education advocates. What can't an advocate do? Being an effective advocate. Principles of special education advocacy. And tips for special education advocates. Advocacy is defined as any action that speaks in favor of, recommends, argues for a cause, supports or defends, or pleads on behalf of others. And that's a key principle to advocacy. You're doing something for others. You are pleading on behalf of others. A due process complaint is an administrative hearing on a special education issue that is not agreed upon between a student's parent or an adult student and the school district. An impartial hearing officer is then assigned to hear testimony, receive evidence, and render a decision. Using a question and answer format, the following questions regarding due process hearings in special education will be addressed. What is a due process complaint? Who may file a due process complaint? What is the subject matter of a due process complaint? Is there a time frame as to when the due process complaint must be filed? Does the school district need to provide the parents with information about legal services if they file a due process complaint?